It's my pleasure now to introduce NIF CEO Daniel Sokatch.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Orly, and to you and your team for the incredible work you did to bring us together today. It is so good to be here with all of you, the New Israel Fund community in this room, around the world, during such dark and difficult days. And before we get into that, let's just once again give thanks for Sandy Galanter in his 97th year, and for our mayor, Daniel Lurie, for being here with us today. These are, even by NIF's tough standards, some of the darkest times that we've known. In Israel, the war continues. In Gaza, civilians continue to be killed, to face starvation. The hostages continue to languish in captivity, while the ruling coalition in Jerusalem, emboldened by their new ultra-nationalist friends in Washington, redouble their assault on Israeli democracy, widen the gap between Israel and the world Jewish community, and steer Israel towards the brink of the abyss. And of course, here at home, we now know that story. We are facing also an attempt at autocratic breakthrough, a wholesale effort to shatter the foundations of American liberal democracy, one that has already done inestimable damage to our country, made a mockery of the best of our values, estranged us from our allies, and plunged the world into chaos. Let's be very clear. These wannabe autocrats in Washington, in Jerusalem, they're working from the same playbook. And they're working together with their friends in Budapest and in Moscow and around the world to roll back liberal democracy elsewhere and everywhere. But while it can seem like hope is in short supply these days, we cannot afford to fall prey to the false and cold comfort of hopelessness and indifference. It is true that hope alone is not a strategy, but it is also true that hope is the essential animating spark in the pushback against tyranny. And this isn't a new story. It's always been this way. In his poem, September 1st, 1939, written as World War II began, W.H. Auden describes a world teetering on the edge of darkness. He sits, he writes, in one of the dives in New York City, uncertain and afraid, as waves of anger and fear wash over the earth. But then, in the final stanza, he writes this: defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies, yet dotted everywhere, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them, of eros and dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame. My friends, we are called to be those ironic points of light now. And for the NIF, our task is clear. It is our greatest honor to serve at the vanguard of the pushback against autocracy in Israel and to stand together with the defenders of democracy, of liberal democracy, here at home and around the world. It is our responsibility, despite the odds, to show that affirming flame, to say loudly and very clearly, no, not on our watch. Last year, I shared with you some words of wisdom from one of my favorite rabbis, Abraham Joshua Heschel. And he said, the greatest strength is love and defiance of despair. Today, I want to add to that. I want to share the words of another of my favorite rabbis, one who we lost just a few weeks ago. That rabbi was an Argentine named Jorge Mario Bergoglio, but you know him better as Pope Francis. And his words ring with an urgency at this critical moment. Pope Francis says, to all of you, I repeat, do not let yourselves be robbed of hope. Do not let yourselves be robbed of hope. And not only that, but I say to us all, let us not rob others of hope. Let us become the bearers of hope. I think bearers of hope is a pretty good epithet for NIF right now. God knows that we and the hope that we represent are badly needed, because the last few years have been characterized by cascading, catastrophic crises for Israel. First, the ferociously right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu launched what a shocked Israeli press corps referred to as the judicial coup, an attempt to strip the Supreme Court of its power and fundamentally weaken Israeli democracy, to turn Israel into the next Hungary or the next Turkey, the next former democracy. But we were not shocked, and NIF was not taken by surprise. In fact, we had been warning about this for over a decade, and we didn't just warn, we built. We built a new civil society infrastructure designed to protect and defend liberal democracy. And when the attack on that democracy began in earnest, we were there and we were ready. Not only did NIF-funded civil society organizations lead the democratic pushback, which led to the largest mass protests in Israeli history, we also built NIF's Civil Society Protection Hub, which provides comprehensive support to organizations and activists threatened by extremist attacks, be it from ultra-right-wing settler organizations, spurious lawsuits, or the government itself. There are few things that I've had the honor of working on in my almost 16 years at NIF that I'm prouder of than the Hub. The Hub provides people and organizations who are threatened or who are attacked with legal aid, with resilience training, even mental health support, or an extra layer of security. The Hub has already worked with some 900 individuals and organizations, so many of whom have been fighting for democracy, shared society, and human rights for a very long time. In just a couple of years, the Hub has transformed the civil society landscape in Israel, making it safer, stronger, and more secure. And God knows we need an American Hub as soon as possible on this side of the ocean. And then, of course, came October 7th. And as you know, in addition to providing humanitarian relief for those most affected by the attacks, NIF's Emergency Safety Net Plan ensured that tensions between Israeli, Arab, and Jewish citizens did not spill over into violence as it had done in the past. We provided support to enable Israeli civil rights organizations to defend freedom of expression at a time when the government cracked down on those expressing compassion for the suffering of Gazans or those protesting the war. We supported the Hostage Families Forum, which became the headquarters for Israelis pushing back against a government bent on endless war and democratic backsliding. We supported human rights organizations shining a light on what was happening in the West Bank under cover of the fog of war as extremist settlers and their allies in the Israeli government terrified Palestinians into fleeing their homes. And we undertook an ongoing campaign to support trusted international aid agencies in their efforts to get food and humanitarian relief to civilians suffering in Gaza as a result of this war. Now, through our new crisis action plan, we are also working to ensure that Israelis see that a different future is possible. Our grantee, Have You Seen the Horizon Lately? You met their exec here in this room last year, Shir Natsatsky. They put up giant billboards that we funded along the Ayalon freeway in Tel Aviv, asking Israelis a series of provocative questions aimed at getting them to think differently about the choices in front of them. Rebuild the communities near Gaza or rebuild the settlements inside Gaza? Save the hostages or save the ruling coalition? Continue to extend reserve duty or draft the ultra-Orthodox into the army? Soon, opposition leaders in Israel were asking those questions publicly. We are also supporting efforts to block the de facto annexation of the West Bank by supporting Israelis dedicated to protective presence, to actually putting their bodies on the line, bearing witness and protecting Palestinian civilians from settler attacks, and ensuring that the Israeli public is not able to look away from what is happening in their name. And I'm really proud that we have launched Nasij, which means tapestry in Arabic, a multi-year, multi-million-dollar investment into Palestinian-Israeli civil society organizations and infrastructure. This effort is absolutely critical to ensuring that Israel evolves into a truly shared society for all of its citizens. Thanks. These are not always popular things to do in Israel today, as you all know. They're not always popular things to do in the American Jewish community, as you all know. But we are not out to win a popularity contest. Everything we do is in service of our vision of a democratic Israel living at peace with its neighbors and also itself, an Israel that reflects the best of its and our values. Last year, on the second night of Passover, Dana and I hosted a liberation poetry seder. It included that Auden poem I began with, and it ended with these words from political theorist and NIF International Committee member Michael Walzer. Now, a few days before Shavuot, with the Israelites still wandering in the desert, I think these words are as pertinent as ever. For me, they summarize the great gift the Jewish tradition has given to the world, and they're nothing less than marching orders for our time. Here's what Walzer writes. We still believe, or many of us do, what the Exodus first taught, or what it has commonly been taken to teach, about the meaning and possibility of politics and about its proper form. First, that wherever you live, it is probably Egypt. Second, that there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. And third, that the way to the land is through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. And that is what we are called to do now. This is what we, the New Israel Fund community, will continue to do. And it's the great honor of my career to march with all of you.